Awareness means realizing that your poverty is not bad luck, but the result of a plan. They don't want you to be an evolved citizen, but an exhausted worker. A person busy surviving has no time to demand their rights. George Carlin. In this profound statement, Carlin is not addressing poverty as a purely economic issue, but as a complex psychological, social, and political system, carefully engineered to produce a compliant, overworked, and depleted citizen. It is a reading of the modern collective mind, where poverty is no longer a natural outcome of circumstances, but a deliberate tool for human subjugation and the manipulation of consciousness. From a psychological perspective, exhaustion strips the individual of critical thinking. When a person's awareness is confined to securing basic survival, consciousness shifts from a tool of liberation into a mechanism of endurance. This is the most dangerous form of alienation, when the mind reduces itself to instinct alone. Poverty here is not merely material deprivation, but the starvation of dignity and will. A human being living under constant need enters what psychologists call existential burnout, an internal erosion that leads to surrender and conformity instead of creativity and rebellion. Socially and politically, poverty is managed as an instrument of control, not an economic failure. Consumer societies are built on the principle of delayed gratification, feeding citizens carefully measured doses of false hope through advertising, promises, and policies, keeping them in perpetual pursuit of an illusion. This is a precise engineering of powerlessness, perfected by neoliberal systems that turn humans into small cogs in the production machine, surrounded by endless distractions and fears. Poverty becomes a function that preserves the existing order. Literarily, this text reads as an existential scream against modern slavery. Poverty is not an event, but a deep spiritual condition of inner extinction, where humans are reduced to bodies that work without living, produce without owning, and consume without choosing. It is the modern face of bondage, slavery disguised as freedom. At a deeper psychological level, the poverty discussed here is not only financial, but cognitive. When a person is programmed to believe that misery is destiny, they become the psychological guard of their own prison. The system no longer needs iron bars when fear and deprivation are enough to build walls inside the mind. Poverty thus becomes a transmitted mental illness, measured not by currency, but by the degree to which hope has been extinguished. This is a form of soft domination, replacing chains with mental constraints. The individual is exhausted in a loop of work and consumption until they lose any sense of time or purpose. So when Carlin says they don't want you to be an evolved citizen, but an exhausted worker, he exposes the core truth. Evolution threatens the system. A conscious citizen questions. An educated mind doubts. An awakened soul cannot be led. That is why awareness itself becomes the true revolutionary act. To realize that poverty is a policy, not an accident. To understand that the deprivation of time and knowledge is more dangerous than the lack of money. To practice awareness not as an intellectual luxury, but as an act of resistance. Because the real battle is not over wealth, but over the mind that understands who is impoverishing it and why.